How far do you think you're from the river?
About 100 feet.
Right. So if we look out your window, we'll see kind of some arborvitae going across. But right on the other side of that is the street, and then the fishing hole where people fish and do stuff, and the river.
Yes.
And so how long has that been flooded, do you think?
It's been flooded for about 2 months now.
Okay. And so how scary was that when you saw that flooding?
It was pretty scary because at the same time that flooded, the next door neighbors had to bring in disaster recovery, and they had to hook up a pump to pump out the water from their basement. They had the first level flooded and their floors were flooded. So I became concerned, yet when I opened my crawl space, it's still dry. So.
And why do you think that is?
I think this is raised up just high enough that it must not be affecting it. That's the only thing I can think of.
How many feet do you think you're above where she is, your neighbors? 5 feet?
About 5 feet.
Not a lot, huh?
No.
So today, on your front door, you received a letter. What was that about?
The letter was describing that the cubic feet of the river is rising, and it's going to be rising to 11,000, which is considered flood stage, and then at 13,000 they anticipated that the Riverside Village will have, all the houses in the Riverside Village will be flooded.
Wow. Okay, so 13,000 CFM, is that correct?
Yes.
And it's now 900.
9,000.
9,000. That's a lot of volume.
Yes. Well, and the letter went on to talk about how there's a gravel pit down the way and there's been a few levees built, and it said that they're not holding. And it also talked about there being sinkholes in the gravel pit from the Boise River. And if that happens, they anticipate that it will backwash eastward towards the Glenwood Bridge, and that's around where I live.
So catty corner from your house to this street light is
Yes.
another just maybe 100 feet.
Yes.
And that's where the Glenwood Bridge comes across.
Yes.
And you can go underneath. Okay. So you're right in the central space.
Yes.
For the flood. Okay. So now what are you doing?
So my friend and I decided we probably should take a look at what you do in case of a flood. So the notice talked about making sure that you took your cars and RVs and anything that can pollute the river, gasoline, chemicals and supplies, and move them to an upper floor or move them away or out of the flood zone. And then they also recommend a 72-hour emergency kit and sign up for the red alerts. So I did that a couple weeks ago. So now we're researching what a 72-hour kit has in it in case we have to pack up and go.
Okay, so what is in the 72-hour kit?
Well, it says here the basic disaster supplies kit. They talk about water, for 1 gallon of water per person per day for at least 3 days for drinking and sanitation. And they talk about food for at least 3-day supply of non-perishable food, battery-powered or hand-cranked radio and or a NOAA weather radio for alerts, and take extra batteries, a flashlight and extra batteries, a first aid kit, a whistle for help, and a dust mask to help filter contaminated air, and plastic sheeting and duct tapes, and moist towelettes, garbage bags and plastic ties for personal sanitation, wrench or pliers to turn off utilities, a manual can opener for food, local maps and cell phone and chargers. And then they do have a whole thing about recommended supplies, and it's a PDF file. It's called the Emergency Supply List. So on that one, they talk about making sure you've got all your prescription medications, your glasses. If you have a baby, the infant formula and diapers, pet food and extra water for your pets. So little Jackie here will need his food. And important family documents such as copies or insurance policies, identification and bank account records in a waterproof portable container, your cash or traveler checks, emergency reference material such as a first aid book or information. They want you to make sure you've got a sleeping bag or warm blankets for each person, and consider adding additional bedding if you live in cold water climate. We're in spring here, so it's not going to be too cold. Complete change of clothing, including a long sleeve shirt and a long pants and sturdy shoes, so consider adding additional clothing, again, if you're in a cold area. Household chlorine, bleach, and medicine dropper, so if you need to sanitize your water, you use, it says here to use 16 drops per gallon of water. A fire extinguisher, matches in a waterproof container, feminine supplies and personal hygiene items, mess kits, paper cuts, plates, and plastic utensils and paper towels, paper and a pencil, and books, games, and puzzles for activities for the children. But
so you don't have children living with you besides Jack and McCracker.
right.
He's your little, and we'll go ahead and we'll show him again because he is about the sweetest little kitty known to man. But, okay, so I'm going to ask. Some of this sounds like if you were stuck upstairs and couldn't get out. Do you think that's, because honestly, the Residence Inn or any of the hotels that you could afford to go to, right, would be fine. They would have water, they would have those things that you need. So, I don't think you want to be stuck upstairs.
I wouldn't want to breathe the smell of the water.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think a lot of it too is that if you want to evacuate and you don't, let's say you have to evacuate to a high school gymnasium, then you've got some supplies, you've got your sleeping bags, you've got some things to keep yourselves busy. Excuse me. Chances are they'll have water to supply. You'll probably have to go out and eat, or they talk about some canned foods. There's a whole list here. This is a great site. It's FEMA.gov, and it's got everything. It talks about your emergency food, your emergency water, and your first aid kit, and supplies for unique needs. So it's a good place to go get that information.
So now, let's talk about your house and having to leave that. So, I'm making the assumption that you won't stay here if it's flooded. You won't have to be on your roof waiting for the boat to come by and pick
Right.
you up. Jack McCrackers will be in his little kitty.
Yeah, so I need a
House.
kitty carrier. So I have his kitty carrier I need to put close to a door, I think, so I can put him in and head out.
Right. And so if we're looking at you having things packed to take, what is it that you think you want to pack up?
I would say they recommend you take your insurance, have your insurance information, your house information, any legal documents that you might need. They want to make sure that in case you're going to have to call, for your homeowner's insurance, you're going to have to deal with them. You're going to have to probably contact your bank, and then, and if there's any financial records that you need to take care of. Make sure you got couple pairs of different shoes, and tennis shoes for lots of walking, and in case your feet get wet, make sure you got some socks and some shoes that you can wear that are going to be dry. For me, since I travel so much, I probably will have to take clothes for what I would handle here, and then I'd have to take enough clothes for when I go down to Salt Lake for my job, so.
So when you're not here, you have someone come in to watch Jack and McCracker.
Yes.
What is it that what kind of thing are you gonna talk to them about in case it should happen when you're not here?
I'll pack a bag of some supplies to make sure that I've got, I'll put Jack's food in a different container so that it won't get wet. So I think what we'll do is put something by the door and the pet carrier by the door and tell them the one thing that matters is my kitty cat.
Right.
And if there's anything, make sure that they understand that when they come to stay, maybe they should take their luggage upstairs in case this happens.
So, thank you, Janet. We were talking to a lady outside of Janet's house, and she lives in a couple houses down, I think, and we said, what are you going to do? Are you going to get prepared? And she said, no. She didn't think it'd happen. And it makes me think of all those times that we just decide that things aren't going to happen in our world, and then they do. I think of the poor little Mount St. Helen man. You guys might remember that. But anyway. So thank you. Thank you for watching. Oh, and subscribe if you like it. I'd appreciate it. And we'll talk at you later. Bye.